The Middle East has been a cauldron of conflict for decades. At the heart of this turmoil lies the deeply rooted animosity between Iran and Israel. This essay will delve into the complex reasons behind their enduring conflict. We will explore the ideological clashes, the struggle for regional dominance, and the looming shadow of nuclear weapons. We will also examine the role of proxy wars and the significant influence of the United States. The relationship between Iran and Israel has been strained since the Islamic Revolution in Iran in 1979. Before this, the two nations maintained relatively cordial ties. However, the revolution ushered in a new era marked by deep ideological differences. The establishment of an Islamic Republic in Iran, fundamentally opposed to Israel's existence, set the stage for decades of hostility. The conflict between Iran and Israel extends beyond mere political disagreements. It is a multifaceted struggle fueled by historical grievances, religious differences, and strategic competition. Understanding the complexities of this conflict is crucial for comprehending the dynamics of the Middle East. The rivalry between these two regional powers has significant implications for global security and stability. This essay aims to provide a clear and concise analysis of the key factors driving the Iran-Israel conflict. By examining the historical context and the motivations of both sides, we can gain a deeper understanding of this enduring and potentially explosive standoff. At the core of the Iran-Israel conflict lies a fundamental ideological chasm. This divide stems from differing interpretations of history, religion, and national identity. These differences have fueled mutual suspicion and animosity, making peaceful coexistence a distant prospect. Iran, under its Islamic Republic system, views Israel as an illegitimate entity. It condemns the establishment of a Jewish state in what it considers to be Muslim land. This stance is rooted in the religious ideology of the Iranian leadership, which sees Israel's existence as a violation of Islamic principles. Israel, on the other hand, perceives itself as a Jewish state with a right to exist and defend itself. It views Iran's rhetoric and actions as a direct threat to its security and survival. The memory of the Holocaust, which instilled a deep sense of vulnerability among Israelis, further intensifies their fears about existential threats. The ideological divide between Iran and Israel is further exacerbated by their competing narratives about the past. Both nations draw on history to justify their positions, leading to a clash of narratives that deepens the mistrust. This fundamental clash of ideologies makes finding common ground and resolving the conflict extremely challenging. Beyond ideological differences, the Iran-Israel conflict is also fueled by a fierce competition for regional hegemony. Both nations aspire to be the dominant power in the Middle East, leading to a geopolitical chess match with far-reaching consequences. Iran, seeking to assert its influence in the region, has adopted a multi-pronged strategy. It supports allied groups and regimes, expands its military capabilities, and projects its power through proxies. This strategy aims to weaken Israel's position and establish Iran as a leading force in the Middle East. Israel, wary of Iran's growing influence, views its actions as a direct challenge to its security and interests. It has responded by strengthening its military, forging alliances with regional partners, and conducting covert operations to counter Iranian activities. This strategic rivalry has turned the Middle East into a battleground for influence and dominance. The struggle for regional dominance between Iran and Israel has destabilized the Middle East. It has fueled proxy wars, exacerbated sectarian tensions, and hindered efforts to resolve long-standing conflicts. The pursuit of regional hegemony has become a zero-sum game, with both sides perceiving the other's gain as their own loss. Section 4. The nuclear threat, a source of deep mistrust and fear. Adding another layer of complexity to the Iran-Israel conflict is the contentious issue of nuclear weapons. Israel's undeclared but widely acknowledged nuclear arsenal, coupled with Iran's nuclear ambitions, has created a climate of fear and mistrust. This has fueled a dangerous arms race in the region, raising the stakes of the conflict. Israel, possessing nuclear weapons, views Iran's nuclear program as an existential threat. It fears that Iran could develop nuclear weapons and use them to attack Israel or provide them to its allies, such as Hezbollah. This fear is deeply ingrained in the Israeli psyche, shaping its strategic calculus and its hardline stance towards Iran. Iran, while maintaining that its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes, has contributed to the mistrust by concealing aspects of its activities and making threatening statements. The international community's efforts to curb Iran's nuclear ambitions through sanctions and negotiations have had mixed results, further fueling the uncertainty and suspicion. The nuclear issue has become a major flashpoint in the Iran-Israel conflict. It has heightened tensions, increased the risk of miscalculation, and hampered efforts to find a peaceful resolution. The lack of transparency and the potential for nuclear proliferation pose a serious threat to regional and global security. Section 5. Proxy wars and armed groups fueling the flames of conflict. A defining feature of the Iran-Israel conflict is the use of proxy wars and the support of armed groups. Both nations have employed this strategy to advance their interests, weaken their adversaries, and exert influence in the region. This has resulted in a complex web of alliances and conflicts, further destabilizing the Middle East. Iran has provided extensive support to groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. This support includes financial aid, military training, and the supply of weapons. These groups act as Iranian proxies, challenging Israel's military superiority and undermining its security. Israel, in turn, has targeted Iranian assets and allies in the region. It has conducted airstrikes against Iranian targets in Syria, supported Kurdish groups opposed to Iran, and engaged in covert operations to sabotage Iran's nuclear program. This tit-for-tat dynamic has fueled a cycle of violence and instability. The use of proxy wars and the involvement of armed groups have had devastating consequences for the region. It has prolonged conflicts, exacerbated humanitarian crises, and hindered efforts to achieve a lasting peace. The complex web of alliances and rivalries has made finding a solution to the conflict even more challenging. Section 6. The US factor: the complex web of alliances and sanctions. The United States, as a global superpower with significant interests in the Middle East, plays a crucial role in the Iran-Israel conflict. Its alliances with both Israel and some Arab states, coupled with its sanctions on Iran, have shaped the dynamics of the conflict and influenced its trajectory. The US has been a steadfast ally of Israel, providing it with military aid, diplomatic support, and security guarantees. This unwavering support has emboldened Israel in its stance against Iran, knowing it can rely on American backing in any potential confrontation. Simultaneously, the US has imposed sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program and its support for terrorism. These sanctions have crippled Iran's economy and limited its ability to project power in the region. However, they have also fueled resentment towards the US and its allies, contributing to the cycle of mistrust and hostility. The U.S. role in the Iran-Israel conflict is complex and often contradictory. Its efforts to contain Iran's nuclear ambitions and support its allies have inadvertently exacerbated tensions and hindered efforts to find a peaceful resolution. The U.S. actions have significant implications for the stability of the Middle East and the future of the conflict. Section 7. The road ahead: an uncertain future for Iran and Israel. The future of the Iran-Israel conflict remains uncertain, with no easy solutions on the horizon. The deep-seated animosity, the complex web of alliances, and the geopolitical realities of the Middle East suggest that the rivalry is likely to persist. The potential for miscalculation and escalation remains high. The lack of direct communication between Iran and Israel, coupled with the involvement of armed groups and the risk of unintended consequences, could spark a wider conflict. Finding a lasting solution to the Iran-Israel conflict will require a fundamental shift in the dynamics of the relationship. This includes addressing the root causes of the conflict, building trust through dialogue, and finding common ground on issues of mutual concern. The international community has a crucial role to play in facilitating dialogue, promoting de-escalation, and creating conditions conducive to peace. However, given the entrenched positions in the complex geopolitical landscape, achieving a peaceful resolution will be a daunting and long-term endeavor. The Iran-Israel conflict is a microcosm of the challenges facing the Middle East. It highlights the deep divisions, the volatile nature of the region, and the urgent need for peaceful solutions. The future stability of the Middle East, and indeed the world, hinges on finding a way to bridge these divides and build a more peaceful future.